In this video we are going to use Jace the Perfected Mind to mill out our opponents. We use different types of removal to control the game, and eventually we recast Jace over and over with Conduit of Worlds until our opponent is milled out. For a full deck tech you can skip to the deck tech chapter at the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed today's games and I see you guys soon.
I've already read your thoughts. You won't stop us. I know where to find all the answers. Solution must be found. All your hopes and dreams were for nothing. Phyrexia's plans are already in motion. I will surrender every last thought to Phyrexia. Pask. Imasahak. You can be made to obey. Data requires scrutiny. A more efficient solution must be found. Phyrexia showed me the truth. Flesh will always lose. I know where to find all the answers. In time, all will witness Phyrexia's truth.
will protect you, Phyrexia, until the invasion. Phyrexia is the future. You can't resist the inevitable.
The energy of battle, then guided like water. You are not much of a roadblock. I have got new moves to teach you.
Is wasted. You cannot win. A more efficient solution must be found. I pull one thread, and your entire mind unravels. Phyrexia showed me the truth. Flesh will always lose. None of this calculates. I will shatter your mind.
Still have much to learn.
I've already read your thoughts. You won't stop us. Sake of Phyrexia, I will. No secret escapes my grasp. I will clear your mind. Your victory is an illusion, nothing more. Emotions are distractions. Focus on the facts. I will iterate on my performance. Nothing could be more vulnerable than your memory. Pask, Imasahak. Retreat if I will shatter your mind.
overconfident. You're just underwhelming. Guards, to me! Show them how we greet our enemies. Years of training for this?
I'll take note of all your failures. The data requires scrutiny. We can improve upon your ideas. Can be made to obey. I will iterate on my I know where to find all the answers.
What's up guys, MTG Matthew back with another video, and today we're playing a band control deck featuring two new cards from Phyrexia, All Will Be One. The MVP of this deck being Jace, the Perfected Mind, a new Planeswalker for a total of 4 mana or 3 mana and 1 Phyrexia mana. Comes in with 5 or 3 loyalty respectively. You can +1 Jace to give a creature -3/-1 to the next turn, -2 him to have target player mill 3 cards, and then if your graveyard has 20 or more cards in it, you draw 3 cards, otherwise you just draw 1 card. And then the third ability, which is the important one for this deck, is -X, target player mills 3 times X cards. Now, I think Jace got shit on quite a bit during previous season. And I also was pretty disappointed when it got spoiled, because I just expected more from a Phyrexianized Jace. However, I do think this card is actually very good in the control deck, because this card by itself is a win condition by simply milling your opponent out with the -X. And the only thing you need to make sure is that you survive and that you cast Jace often enough to mill out your opponent, because when you cast Jace for 4 mana, he comes in with 5 loyalty, which means when you minus X for 5, you mill 15 cards. Now, in standard, decks have 60 cards, and obviously players actually start the game with 53 cards in the library because they already drew 7 cards. So as the game progresses, your opponent naturally draws a card each turn and also draws more cards with you know, abilities from their own cards. I think it's safe to assume that realistically you need 3 Jace ultimate activations to mill your opponent out, right? So because 3 activations equals 45 cards, and that should be enough to mill out your opponent. Now, the question is, how do we do that, right? So, first of all, the simple solution is we have 3 copies of Jace in the deck. So, just in the deck building itself, we can make sure that we can have 3 activations of Jace. But we go one step further with a new card from phyrexia, one that I was very excited about when it got spoiled, Conduit of Worlds. 4 mana artifact in green, you may pull lands from your graveyard, and you can tap it and choose a non-permanent card in your graveyard, and you can cast it this turn, but only if you haven't cast a spell yet this turn, and you can't cast a spell after that, and you can only do it as sorcery speed. Absolutely love this card. I'm going to experiment a lot with Conduit because I think there's so much potential in there. Playing lands from your graveyard can be a huge value engine, and then you play other stuff, but that's something for another video. In this video, it's only important that Conduit allows us to replay Jace from the graveyard, because if you use the minus X, obviously Jace puts himself back into the graveyard, right? So the whole idea of the deck is we mill our opponent out and we get extra cast from Jace by playing him from the graveyard, which means that we don't need to find all 3 Jace every game to win the game. And that's the idea of the deck. So, and the rest of the deck is really just controlling the game in a banned shell. We're really just banned because of Conduit of Worlds and 2 copies of Dryas Revival, which gives us also more access to our graveyard. 3 mana sorcery, return target card from the graveyard to your hand, and we can flash it back for 5. So these are the only cards in here that actually need green, and the rest of the deck is really just an Azorius control deck. So let's go through it one more one. At the 1 mana slot, we got 3 copies of Fading Hope. Very cheap in action, can help us in the early game to just smooth out our draws a little bit. And I mean, the meta has developed already a little bit ever since Phyrexia All-Reborn got released, which was about 1 week ago. And there's this just annoying control deck with Venerated Rotpriest, and I can very much imagine Venerated Rotpriest being banned, because I think it's a very unfun card, very uninteractive, costs just 1 mana, and there are no really good answers against it. But we'll have to see. And in the meantime, you need cheap answers for those kinds of annoying low curve aggro decks. Fading Hope helps with that. Then we also got 4 copies of Sunset Reverie. Probably one of my most played cards of all time by now. Gives you life, blockers, lets you cycle, if the conditions are right. 3 copies of Fateful Absence to deal with any type of creature. That's what it's mainly here for, and then also it can target planeswalkers, which is nice and which is definitely a use case for Fateful Absence. However, our main planeswalker removal is Vanish into Eternity, and I've played this card a bunch now, and I'm really impressed by it, right? Because for 3 mana at instant speed, and it's also very easy to cast, right? You only need 1 white mana pip. You can just exile any planeswalker, artifact, or enchantment. And then if you pay 3 more mana in the mid to late game, you can also exile creatures. I think this is a fantastic card, just answers planeswalkers, and it's just so flexible that the 3 mana is well worth it. And the 3 copies of Absence and Vanish into Eternity are basically our single target removal package. Then we got another answer to the meta, 4 copies of Temporary Lockdown. I really believe this is fantastic in the current meta. You have a lot of tokens running around, Temporary Lockdown just deals with that. It's also just good against your traditional aggro decks like mono-red aggro and soldiers, and the aforementioned venerated Rotpriest deck really has no permanent that has a mana value greater than 2, so it's also great against that. And also, you know, there's some like toxic aggro decks which are really low curve, and if you're playing against a control deck, I find that right now it's not enough to have your turn 4 to populate. It's a little bit too late, so turn 3 temporary lockdown goes a real long way, and it's just fantastic in the current meta. Then we got 3 copies of Depopulate as our general board wipe, 2 copies of Wandering Emperor. Not a win condition in this deck, really acting as another interactive creature removal that gains us some life, right? Can build a little bit of board presence. Just nice to have to get us where you want. And then we run 4 copies of Membrane Deluge as our main source of card draw. Now, do note, this is not a very competitive deck right now. I climbed with it a little bit, had a win rate between 50 to 60%, so it certainly needs optimization. I would probably cut the Wandering Emperor, put in more card draw because the deck is lacking a little bit of card draw. But I do find, I think Jace is a fantastic card for control decks, very solid win condition. And I'm definitely going to experiment more with Conduit of World. But that's it for now. Hope you guys enjoyed today's videos, and I see you guys soon.